We need to talk about the DJI Action 2 camera because there is a problem with this action cam you should definitely know about, and I don't care that people in the comment section will be like, this is an edge case, you're using your camera wrong, you're not supposed to use a camera like this. I don't care. If you're considering to getting the DJI Action 2 for its high resolution, high frame rate capabilities, you should definitely watch this video. So let's get to it. So why is it that the DJI Action 2, in my opinion, is absolutely unusable when shooting 4K 120 frames a second? Well, many of you might be thinking I'm going on a rant about the overheating issue, but I don't. Because as many people pointed out, this is an action camera which usually is somewhere in action, which includes some sort of airflow, so the overheating isn't that big of an issue. However, what is an issue are imaging artifacts. So when I got this camera, of course, I did all my tests, which include, as you might know if you're a viewer of this channel, going onto a roller coaster with it. And when I did that and I rewatched the footage, I noticed something. And I noticed that there were artifacts. Unfortunately, I don't have the raw material of that recording anymore, but here is the material I still have. And if we go to this spot here, we can see an artifact line in the image, and the same happened at the end again. I first thought this might be some sort of issue related to the camera running very hot. So when I went home, I did a test in studio conditions. And sure enough, I was able to reproduce this problem, as we can see here. I had those same artifacts at the beginning of the video and actually just complete through the video. I was thinking maybe something's wrong with my camera. So I went and checked if there is an update for my firmware, and there wasn't. So with that, I did some testings and I was not able to get any of those problems using full HD or 2K recordings. However, where I got it was in 4K 100 frames a second and 4K 120 frames a second. So I think this is something related to the high frame rates. And my guess on what exactly went wrong, I will give you at the end of this video. So let's move on with another video I created, because I was like, okay, maybe that was just a fluke. Maybe this was just a bad day for the camera. Maybe it's nothing to worry about. So I went with my camera to the Netherlands to record some more roller coasters because, again, this is what I do. So when I watched the footage of that roller coaster, and this is an interesting one because it has a dark ride part, so very low light, I'm playing back this sequence 4 times slower than it was recorded. So in this YouTube video, which is playing with 30 frames a second, we will be able to see every single frame. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good for a camera at all. Like here, we're getting very close to the absolutely unusable territory. Yes, there are post-production methods I could use to fix those issues, and I most likely will do it with this specific footage. However, getting a new action camera shouldn't involve a new workflow which says I have to go through every single frame to fix some frame issues. So of course, this is not only something that happens in low light, we also see it outside of the ride if we skip a little bit through the video. If we go through the clip of that same ride, we have those artifacts everywhere through the ride, and this is just something which, I'm sorry, is not usable. Because for me, I would like to have a high resolution, high frame rate camera which allows me to slow things down without losing resolution to get a clear look at certain points of a ride. I know that most people won't run around with this camera vlogging in 4K 120 frames a second. But again, if you're looking into getting the DJI Action 2 for that purpose, that is unusable. Of course, I wrote to DJI and was like, hey, yo, do I have a bad unit? What's going on? And DJI told me, no, they are aware of this issue and they're working on a fix which should roll out until the end of the week. They told me so at the 1st of November. Right now, it's pretty close to the end of November and we still don't have any update. This is a problem DJI knows about, is trying to fix, but cannot fix, or simply isn't caring to fix. Either way, we are approaching Black Friday. We are approaching the Christmas gift run. You know the thing, right? Everybody's looking into nice gadgets to get, and this thing is, as I said, it's a good camera. It will end up under many Christmas trees. However, there is a huge issue with it when recording high frame rate. And this brings me to what I think is exactly going wrong with this camera. If you're a viewer of this channel, you might remember that we did a live unboxing. And when we did the live unboxing, I found some things which I think can give us a little bit of insight what's wrong here. So when I got this specific unit, there was a very early on firmware installed on it. That firmware had no mention whatsoever about any high resolution, high frame rate options. The highest we could go on 4K was 60 frames a second. So what I think happened here, DJI was cooking up this device for, let's say, the last 18 months or so. Like they engineered it, they tested it, they R&D'd it. Like they created this product. And somewhere along the line, a few months ago, GoPro came out with their new GoPro, which records in 4K 120 frames a second. And I'm pretty sure somewhere in the marketing department of DJI was like, yo guys, listen, we cannot come out with a camera that cannot also record 4K 120 frames a second. So I'm pretty sure what DJI did is they added the 120 frames a second and 100 frames a second, for that matter, function after the fact using firmware. And I don't know if it's a problem of the sensor itself, if it's a problem of the imaging pipeline behind the sensor, or if it's a problem of the SD slot writing to the camera. But somewhere in that pipeline from getting the image from the sensor to the SD card, somewhere in there is a link that might not be able to handle the huge amount of data 4K 120 frames a second generates. I don't know if DJI might be able to fix this by just creating a firmware update which lowers the bitrate of the video so the files are less big. It would be relatively easy if it's a problem between the encoder and the SD card. However, if it's a problem somewhere in between, like the sensor giving out the data and some multiplexer in between before it goes into encoder, if the problem is somewhere there, I honestly don't know how they fix it, and it just tells us that the device was never engineered with 120 frames per second in mind. So, until DJI fixes that issue with a firmware update, I highly recommend to not get the DJI Action 2 if you're looking into any high frame rate recordings that are more than 60 frames a second. With that said, also make sure to read the video description below this video, because if DJI manages to issue a firmware update, I will mention it there as the issue being resolved or not. And for my part, I am very disappointed, because that one marketing point they had, which sounded too good to be true, seems to be too good to be true. Alright, so again, thanks for watching. If you like this video, again, like, share, do whatever you want. But please, 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 click one of those videos which are now on the end card, because if you like this one and you're still watching, you might also like one of those videos. Again, I'm Greeny, this is Greenbox, thanks for watching, and I'll see you, if you like, in another video. Goodbye, bye-bye, bye!